Okay. So on that date, the prosecution admitted all kinds of stuff to show you were with your horse, and James was with your horse, correct?
Correct.
And you guys were with your horse?
Correct.
How long would you have been out there? What was a typical trip to the barn?
Usually about 3 hours. It takes about a half hour to get the horses tacked up and ready. We usually rode for about an hour, and then anywhere from a half hour to 45 minutes to cool them down.
And with respect to the horses, did you and James go out there? Did you go every day?
No.
How did that work? Who went? How did you guys pick?
Whoever felt like going or had the most availability. Sometimes I'd work late, past 6 o'clock at night. I couldn't go. There's nights that my son had to go to bowling that had taken. Whatever happened that day, we just say, I'm going, or you're going, or it just was a day-by-day thing.
Okay, so I'm going to skip ahead. This has been admitted as Exhibit 84. This goes to March 8th and 9th. Okay, do you remember talking about those dates?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Now, on those dates, the prosecution admitted Exhibit 84, which is up on the screen. These are texts between James and you, and it looks like you're saying you're going to have to skip the barn tonight. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. And then you ask, is Ethan going to bowling?
Correct.
James says IDK. What does that mean?
I don't know.
All right. And you ask him about that. Okay, and I want you to describe, what are you doing in these text messages up on the screen here, these 4 in a row?
Can you go back to the green one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I got it now. I was just texting him, asking him if he was home from school yet.
Okay.
And if he had his phone on him.
So you're texting...
I think, looking at this, we must have gotten into an argument about his grades and took his phone away the night before, which is why I was asking if he had his phone on him.
Is it common for you to text repeatedly about someone? Are you home? Where are you?
Yes.
Okay, so in your messages, is it fair to say we're going to see that a lot from you?
Yes.
Okay. Your husband wrote back, he does not get home till 3:16. Did you know what time Ethan got home every day?
I knew it was after 3, like shortly after. I wasn't sure to the minute.
Okay, well then you wrote, I told you to pick him up because he's upset and I don't want him to do anything stupid, God damn it. What did you mean by that?
I don't know, just if he walked home, I was worried if he was upset, he would just walk to Little Caesars or Frosty Boy and not let us know, and then I'd worry, or he'd take the route through, there's some kind of woodsy area to get to the trail to our house, and there's some homeless people that live back in there. It was just more or less, I was just worried about him just not wanting to come home because we got an argument the night before.
So when you say, I don't want him to do anything stupid, were you worried he'd hurt himself or anything like that?
No.
And James responds, dude, chill, he is fine, and I am trying to fucking work. Your next question, does he have his phone? Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And then he says he won't answer while he's walking. The exhibit speaks for itself. And then you start up with, I'm seriously freaking out. Is he home yet? And then it looks like a blank message. Yeah. Why are you freaking out so much?
Because he didn't tell me he was home. So, and I think he must have, I don't know, did something with work. I couldn't get a hold of him. So it was like, why can't I get a hold of you? Why can't I get a hold of anybody?
Okay. Did this concern you ultimately that something happened that day, or did this get resolved?
I think he just got home and that was it.
Okay. Now, the next day, which would have been the 9th, you and James, we can agree, went to the barn together that day, correct?
Correct.
The prosecution provided a picture, GPS exhibits, phone data exhibits, correct?
Correct.
All right. On that day, we agree you guys are at the barn together.
Correct.
Okay. I'm going to go to the prosecutor's exhibit 82 that was admitted. Okay. And you send him a message to Ethan that says, where are you? Or Ethan sends you a message that says, I'm sorry. You send a message to Ethan saying, where are you? At 3:17 and 32 seconds, UTC -5, correct?
Correct.
All right. So then Ethan sends you all these texts. Can you get home now? I think that someone's in the house. Someone walked into the bathroom and flushed the toilet, left the light on. I thought it was you, but I came out, no one was home. There is no one in the house, though. Dude, my door just slammed. Maybe it's just my paranoia. But when are you going to get home? Okay, what was going on that day?
So if you go back to the beginning of the thread.
Okay.
Is it the beginning? So you can see the time on there. That was the time I'd be driving home from the barn. And when I got home, he was asking me why I didn't answer the text, and he said the weird stuff was going on in the house again, and that was that.
Okay, when you walked in, do you recall discussing these messages with him?
It was mainly, I've been trying to text you, why don't you answer? And I told
He
him,
said that or you said that?
he said that.
Okay.
And I told him I was driving home, I wasn't looking at my phone.
So why weren't you looking at your phone, or what's going on with your, did you have a signal? Do you not have a signal? What's happening?
I could have had a signal, I don't know. I probably just had my phone in the front seat of the passenger side and didn't look at it.
Okay. When you're out at the barn, do you get every text that people send you?
No.
What's your signal like out there?
I have Metro PCS, so it's not as good as somebody had AT&T and Verizon, but there's very limited spots at any barn I've been at where there's any type of signal. Usually you have to find the one spot you'll see everybody standing at talking on the phone, but it's not all over the barn.
What about on the roads to the barn?
So that barn we were at, it was between Oxford and Groveland area. So all those roads, once I passed the market, there's no signal until I got to a fire station. Then I have a signal, and then once I passed the fire station, I wouldn't have a signal. Then I hit a grocery store, I'd have a signal. Once I got past the grocery store, all the way to the barn, I had no signal.
Looking back on these texts now from March 9th, okay, seeing him say, there's someone in the house, I think. Someone walked in the bathroom and flushed the toilet, left the light on. Do you think he was having mental issues that day?
No.
What do you think, what is your conclusion about these messages at this time?
He was just messing with us.
Okay. Is this the kind of messing you previously talked about?
Yes.
All right. I want to go to March 20th. This is People's Exhibits 96 through 100. They established on this date you're out at the barn. This is you, yes?
Yes.
Okay. And another picture of you.
Yep.
And we've got data showing that you were out there, correct? Okay. And there's a text message exchange that was admitted as People's 96. I'm going to put that up on the screen for you, okay?
Okay.
So in People's 96, this is between you and your son, correct?
Correct.
He says, can you at least text back? You're asking, where's your dad? Text me when you're done yet? And he starts up with, I finished picking up the room. I cleaned until clothes started flying off the shelf. This stuff only happens when I'm home alone. I pick the clothes back up though. That's at, it looks like 2:34, and we may be off by an hour or so because it's that UTC. This one's -4. Your next text is jumping in shower, text your dad if I don't respond. And your text, no matter what the time zone is 6 hours later. Do you recall getting these texts?
It's 2 days.
Messages?
It's 2 days and 6 hours later.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. 2 days and 6 hours. So do you recall, though, getting these couple on the 20th about, I finished picking up the room, I cleaned until clothes started falling off the shelf. Do you recall that?
Only when we got discovery.
Okay. Now, looking back on these days, are you thinking, oh my God, he thought things were happening that were crazy?
No.
Do you think anything of it now?
No.
What do you think is happening in those messages?
I just think he was messing with us.
Okay, so those are 3 times where you guys are at the ranch and he's messing with you. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay. And at that time, that was months and months before November. It was in March. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so beyond March, was there other times where he was saying these goofy texts and messing around?
No, I don't think so.
So there's 2 more dates I need to ask you about. I'm going to go to April 4th, which was a Sunday, and that is going to be exhibit that was admitted 101, okay? So exhibit 101 are text messages, and these are between, who are these between?
Those were between my son and his friend.
Okay, now prior to this case, did you ever see any of these messages?
I did not.
Were you aware any of them existed?
I was not.
Okay, so this is from April 4th, and your son's saying, he's the one sending messages that say, I hear people talking to me and someone in the distance. I actually asked my dad to take me to the doctor yesterday, but he gave me some pills and told me to suck it up. Like, it's at the point I'm asking to go to the doctor. Was there ever a time where he asked to go to the doctor around this time?
I don't think so, no.
Then he says, my mom laughed when I told her. Was there ever a time where he's asking for help and you're laughing?
No.
He writes to his friend, and this is just later that night, but I'm having bad insomnia and paranoia, and I need help. I was thinking of calling 911 so I could go to the hospital, but then my parents would be really pissed. Okay, so this is all one long conversation. Is that right?
Correct.
He says, I'm going to ask my parents to go to the doctors tomorrow or Tuesday again, but this time I'm going to tell them about the voices. This text message or instant message thread, were you even aware of this?
No.
Do you remember any time where he came and talked to you and said anything about hearing voices?
No.
Do you recall there ever being a time where he asked you to go to a doctor or to get help and you said no?
No.
Or laughed at him?
No.
So when you see these texts with his friend, do you have any idea, and if you don't, that's fine, do you have any idea what he's doing with his friend?
I don't have any idea.
Okay. Do you know if him and his friend messed around with each other like you and your husband do with him?
Speculation, Judge.
I'm sorry.
She'd have to have personal knowledge.
When you were testifying earlier, you mentioned that your son and his friend would play within a Ouija board. Is that right?
Right.
When did that happen, or in relation to 2021?
I know he got the Ouija board for Christmas of 2020. So for a few months after that, they were really into playing it, and then they got bored with it. And it's probably sitting on our shelf getting dust.
Okay. On April 29th, I'm going to turn your attention to that day. Do you recall texting his friend's mother? And I'm going to put up exhibit 104 on the screen. Okay, do these texts look familiar to you?
They do.
Okay, who are these between?
These are between me and his friend's mom.
Okay, and you start off with my son is in bowling tonight. I just want to let you know, not sure if he needs a partner. Why are you texting that?
I don't know why he wasn't bowling tonight, off the top of my head, but they have partners on certain nights of the week, and so him and his friend were always partners, so I was letting her know that he wasn't going to be there.
Okay, and this is on one date, April 29th. Did you talk to her on other dates, or is this like the only time you talked to her?
We've talked back and forth quite a bit.
Okay. Now, on this date, you say he's been acting kind of depressed. I don't know what's going on. I'm not sure if there's something bothering him at school, but he doesn't really feel good. I can't get anything out of him. Friend's mom mentions he stayed home from school today, too. The only time they're happy is when they're together. Talking about grades. You mentioned, this is all new to me. I'm not used to my son being moody. He's usually pretty happy and will talk about anything. I do know he's been stressed about school and his grades. We called the school, but she wasn't in social. Do it tomorrow. I think his grades have a lot to do with it. I just got to a point where he's got so far behind and we were out of town. He's having difficulties making it up. Where were you guys out of town?
In Florida. My mother-in-law had passed away, so we were gone for a couple of weeks in the middle of April taking care of funeral arrangements and everything.